Welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Zone. I'm your co-host Tom Spitalere. Next week we will be back with Melissa. Bob's working hard on a few things right now. We will have an announcement to make in the following weeks regarding a few things. But the Paranormal Zone is set up as a podcast to discuss things that go bump in the night, things that may fly through the air at night or during the daytime, UFOs, UAPs, paranormal, Bigfoot, legends, Birdman, you name it. And it gives the people who do research in this field a voice. That's why we don't have any call-ins every week. We want to hear from our people. So if you're listening in tonight, tonight's guest could not make it on tonight the last minute, which is fine. I mean, things do happen. People do get head colds and stuff. So tonight's going to be a very interesting night. Now, growing up in New England, I heard a lot of great stories as a kid. I mean, the stories, I go on all day and all night about the stories I've heard in New England. But, I've heard the stories from Champy to the Gloucester Sea Serpent, to the curse of Chief Shakora. You name it, wherever you go in New England, there's some type of hero or curse or story called New England folklore. To the two-headed snake. There's just so many stories. So I figured, without going deep into them tonight, I figured, it's almost April. The roads are getting clearer here in New England. If you're on the other side of the world, things are cleaning up. You might want to take a ride into New England and check out some of these great things that we take for granted here in New England. So, without further ado, folklore has been around since, the beginning of time. Native Americans told their own stories. The colonists told stories. They saw weird things. Probably been around since, New England folklore. It's a tapestry of American colonial history, Puritan providence, maritime legends, and of course, ghostly haunts. It pretty much covers everything. And there are a lot of things out there, that, fall into these things. So, let's get started. Probably one of my favorite stories, especially being involved locally like I am. The story of Jonathan Buck, the founder of Bucksport, Maine. Jonathan lived around 1719 to 1795. He founded Bucksport, Maine. But who was Jonathan Buck? Well, Jonathan Buck lived a very interesting life. Jonathan Buck was from Haverhill, Massachusetts. He requested to build a shipyard on the Merrimack River. It was denied. Instead, he was offered privileges on a tributary on another side of land. Since Buck did not own the land opposite side of the brook, he saw no ability to thrive as a shipbuilder in Haverhill. So Haverhill was known for shipbuilding at that time, which they were. So in 1775, 251 years ago, Buck was appointed to Massachusetts Provincial Congress as a colonel, 5th Regiment in the district of the Maine Militia in Lincoln County. He was brought up to Maine. And placed in charge of Fort Parnell, which is now located on the mouth of the Penobscot River. And the leader of the Penobscot expedition in July and August 1779 were major loss of colonial forces. After this, Buck trekked back to Havel with his sons and did not return to Maine to 1783. But along the way, he was later granted land in Maine, and it became known as Bucksport, Maine. So with that, Colonel Buck was a justice of the peace and subject. Legend holds that he ordered a witch put to death by burning, and this witch put a curse on his tomb. There's a monument of Colonel Buck erected at Bucksport Cemetery in 1870, which bears a stain that they cannot get rid of, roughly of a shape of a woman's lower leg. According to legend, the stain is the leg and foot of the witch, and is marked as reappeared whenever the tombstone has been replaced. So this thing just keeps coming back. So there's, one character. There's one great story. And we still don't know, when he died as being war hero, a businessman. And we don't know why it's on there, but you can actually see the pictures there all over the place. It's another one of those great stories to start with. Here's one I'd like to talk about. The Lady in White. Wow. The Lady in White has been around since the beginning of time, actually. The White Lady of Connecticut, The White Lady of Connecticut. It was a novel following a former wartime operative, Eleanor White, World War II Britain. The White Lady, that's the wrong one. The White Lady of Connecticut. This White Lady appears all over. Stories of white ladies appearing are nefarious here in New England. We have one in Hilldale Cemetery. We have one at different places we've investigated. The Lady in White shows up in Union Cemetery. Various ladies in whites have been reported, including one in Union Cemetery. In eastern Connecticut. They've been seen at Hilldale Cemetery. There's a couple ladies in white, including one that runs the main road in a wedding dress. I've been to many other cemeteries that actually talked about women in white. I think what ends up happening is it's the last thing. Most women were buried in either black or white. Early on, they would have probably been buried in white. Early colonial times, so when they appear, they are appearing you in their white 1800s garbs, and that's why we have so many ladies in white. That's a real tough one, to be honest with you. The Shrieking Woman of Marblehead, the Screeching Lady, 17th century legend of about an English woman murdered by pirates in Loving Cove in Marblehead. After refusing to surrender her jewels, she was killed by pirates. And her screams still haunt on many stormy nights. This was 1600s. Pirates captured a ship, killing the crew and sparing the English woman. They took her ashore, and what was now known as the Screaming Woman's Voice in Cove, or Lovis Cove, Lovis Cove. When she refused to give up her jewels, the pirates killed her, with tales claiming they chopped off her fingers to steal her rings. Legends suggest that the screams can be heard in the wind and the waves on the anniversary of her death. Similar stories share similarities with other regional legends, such as Hannah Screechum of Cape Cod, mentioned in the Barnstable Patriot long ago. So You never know what you're going to hear when you take a walk along the beach, especially along Cape Ann and Cape Cod. So it's real interesting. I mean, we just keep getting more and more into this as we go along. But that is pretty creepy, if you want my honest opinion. Another one that's interesting is Emily's Bridge. Emily's Bridge is in, known as the Golden Covered Bridge, also known as Stowe Hollow Bridge or Emily's Bridge. Built in 1844 over Gold Brook. Covered bridge, the state built using wooden trusses. So the Gold Brook Covered Bridge is Stowe Hollow. The bridge is a single span truss that goes over the brook. It's not that big. Golden Brook, Stowe Hollow Road, the bridge span is about 48.5 feet. The bridge, about 13.5. Goldbrook Covered Bridge was actually featured on Paranormal TV, Most Terrifying Places in America. Episode Cursed Town aired on the Travel Channel in 2018. It's told the legend of Emily as a teenage bride-to-be who was from a poor family, and said by locals that in the 1850s she fell in love with a young rich man, but his parents refused the wedding and told her to wait on the bridge for him at midnight. But when he didn't show up, she was so distraught she jumped off the bridge into the brook and she killed herself. Very sad, tragic love stories. That's a lot of the folklore too we have today. So you have that bridge with that type of folklore in it. There's a location on the New Hampshire seacoast in the Rye area where this poor girl wanted to marry this rich girl wanted to marry this poor guy who was a guy who worked on ships. And he rowed a ship from Portsmouth Harbor to Rye to pick her up. And in a tragic tale of the event, when she was running from home to run off with her lover, a storm came, the waves picked up, and the ship crashed into Rye, the rocks at Rye, and needless to say, they both passed away. Their spirit has been seen, been heard, and have been felt all along that area of Rye, or AKA North Beach. So, I mean, that's another place to go check out. That's a very interesting place. Sometimes you can actually think you've seen the woman and the boat capsizing on that one. Here's one of my favorites, the double-headed snake of Newbury. Can it happen? It can happen. And it had the double-headed serpent is an Aztec sculpture of a snake in the British Museum, but two-headed snakes have been seen, and it's actually written in Whittier's poem, A Double-Headed Snake of Salisbury. They actually really do exist. You can look those up. But needless to say, the one we want to talk about is the one in Newbury. They really can happen. It's about 1 in 100,000 births you get a two-headed snake. But the double-headed snake of Newburyport is a legend of a snake that goes through the town, and it's interesting. But that one I'll leave you for a little later on. It's a Whittier story. The next one, if you ever been up Route 16 and in Chicora or the Albany area, in the 18th century, New Hampshire legend, after white settlers killed his son. So Chief Chicora had entrusted his kid into having white settlers watch him. And Chief, after his son accidentally died, settler was Cornelius Campbell. The boy died by drinking poisonous fox bait by accident. It wasn't murder, it was a tragic accident. But Chief Chicora didn't see it that way. In some versions, he took his vengeance out on Cornelius Campbell's son, and he pursued by settlers. So after he killed Cornelius' son, he was pursued by settlers and cornered at the top of what is now called Chicora Mountain. And before they caught up to him, and he was eventually he was going to be shot, most likely, he yelled out a curse. The curse stated, "May the Great Spirit curse you when he speaks in the clouds. His words are fire. May lightning blast your crops, with fire destroy your homes." This curse is generally believed to have lasted for a century. Because after Chief Chicora died, that area pretty much died. Farming died, people died. The legend is popularized partly by author Lydia Mary Child, who serves as a dramatic tale of revenge and loss and displacement of the Native Americans. Mount Chicora is a prominent peak well known for its rocky summit, and often, though not always, cited some of the most popular hikes in the White Mountains. The story some people believe the story is actually invented to embellish the colonists and become a staple of New England folklore. It is actually very interesting. This legend, you go up to the base of the mountain now, I mean, there's a lot of legends. You got Bigfoot, you got everything else going on, but this legend has actually survived. Cornelius Campbell was trying to do the right thing for his friend Chief Chicora, and kid drank poison by accident. He died, and the chief, obviously defending his children and stuff, killed the son, and then the militia of the white settlers from that area, which weren't many, but it was up in Chief Chicora Mountains in Albany, New Hampshire, just outside of Ossipee, in the Ossipee Triangle. And he put a curse on the land, and for a while they had trouble growing crops. So, you take that for what it's worth, but it's another great New England legend. The sea serpent of Gloucester Harbour. I've gone over this before. Legendary marine creature sighted hundreds of people in Massachusetts Bay, particularly between 1817 and 1819. Described to be 50 to plus feet long, horse-like head, and humpback body. This prestigious snake, it looks almost like a snake, but it's in the water, captured the public eyes as a formal investigation by the Leaning Society in New England, cementing its place in American maritime folklore. So this thing was, witnesses had described this dark serpent creature, often with the head resembling a horse or a dog, moving rapidly and gracefully frequently. Prolonged observations, unlike fleeting glimpses, many witnesses, including sea captains and reputable citizens, observed this creature for an extended period of time, sometimes using a telescope. So this thing can be seen, but you need to know where to go look. Prolonged observation, unlike fleeting glimpses, of many witnesses, including sea captains and reputable citizens have observed the creature for extended periods of time, sometimes using a telescope. The Linnean Society of New England studied reports of this, briefly identified a small deformed snake as the creature's offspring, though this was later dismissed, leaving the incident unexplained. Its cultural impact: the sightings have peaked in August of 1817, inspired by pop culture, including 19th century polka, which is a dance. The creature, sometimes referred to as Cassie, and the story remains one of the most significant documented sea serpent sightings in history. The other thing that we can look at, there might be some ideas of misidentification being porpoises. I just want to go over this stuff. Some proponents believe it is surviving unknown marine creature of cryptozoology, and today the story of the Gloucester sea serpent is remembered as a fascinating mix of folklore and explained maritime history. So these sea serpents show up all over New England, just not in Gloucester. But that's another one of those great New England stories. Hope we're not boring anybody here. Does anybody want to hear anything else? Just let me know in the comments. And I want to thank, it's been an interesting show so far with all these New England folklore stuff going on. And we got more coming in a minute here. The next thing I want to look at is Champy, the Loch Ness-type creature inhabiting Lake Champlain. A legendary lake monster reputed to inhabit 125-mile-long Lake Champlain between New York and Vermont, with 300 plus alleged sightings since 1819, often described as 10 to 200 feet long, Pliosaurus-like creature with a long neck and a humpback. It is a significant part of the regional actually, a lot of people go out to Lake Champlain looking for this Champy. I've never been out there, but one of these days I will make it. Reports date back to at least 1819 in Port Henry, New York, where indigenous legends also spoke of large water creatures, and Samuel Champlain allegedly observed a similar one in 1609. In 1977, the Mansi photograph, which was famous through debated images showing long-necked creature. In 2005, the blood film in the 2023 Garmin sonar image of large unidentified creatures, also seen frequently and cited by believers. So he has seen a lot. I'm not put an eye on him myself, but I do believe there are other things around. All right, so what do we got here? Oh yeah, Champy. Descriptions vary, from some depicting serpent-like creature, while others say it's a creature with a horse head. Theories: while most considered a legend or mystified large fish, it's like sturgeon on jazz, but that sturgeon on jazz, that's quite interesting when I've seen pictures of these things. Um, the pictures are huge. With the physical descriptions vary. Some depicting a serpent-like creature, others creatures with a horse head-like. So it's going to depend on your theory. Theories, while mostly considered legend, but minefield, large fish like sturgeon, gar. Believers often suggest Champy would be a relic in a population of the plesiosaurus or the Zoologan prehistoric whales, or a seal-like animal. Scientific standing, there are no official scientific evidence to confirm the existence of the animal to the lake. So, another great, interesting New England story. I mean, there's just so many. We can keep going all night long, which I will. All right. All right. So with that said, where are we here? Give me 1 second. I got to pull up my files again. So like I said earlier, New England is full of this folklore. All right. So, all right, so here we go. There was a story like this, kind of, sort of, in Ipswich with the Devil's Footprint in a church in downtown Ipswich. But we got the, that's the Devil's Footprint, okay. We got the Darn Man, likely refers to two distinctive topics, the old Darn in Maine and a more modern, highly, oh, forget that, we don't need that one. So that's the Darn Man. So he was around during the 1850s, 60s, and probably 70s. Story goes, according to legends, he wore a formal suit and tails and constantly in various fabrics, allegedly waiting for his bride who never appeared. Notes were taken from Damned, Connecticut. Interesting. So it doesn't matter where you live in New England, wherever you live, there's always going to be something of a legend that goes bump into the night. We are lucky to live in an area that has a lot of these things. If you're into it. If not, then it makes it tough to live in this area. Similar devil footprints have been seen in locations such as Mount Greylock in Massachusetts. You never know where you're going to find them. These type of legends. They just sometimes reappear. So other places for the Devil Foot Rock would be the Narragansett giant motif. Before it was a devil, it marks where it's attributed to Moss Shop, a benevolent giant. In these stories, priests were sinister and they were literal footprints created by moving the road. The Devils is a classic, legendary landmark, natural features that use anchor and oral traditions of a physical landscape. I mean, there were devil footprints seen on stone in North Kingston, Rhode Island on Route 1 and Route 403. There's one in historic Ipswich of a preacher named George Whitefield, and he was holding a loud service and allegedly argued with the devil, ultimately hurling him into a rock. The devil then left a permanent figure in the stone. I've actually seen that rock. It is quite interesting. If we get a chance to see it, I would. We did that one. And living on the New England coast, and anytime you live near water, there's always the folklore of, sea serpents, sharks bigger than normal, floating around our oceans and causing a lot of folklore and mystery and intrigue. Over the weekend, this wouldn't be considered folklore, but a gentleman came forward and talked over the weekend where we were at about his experiences in the military and seeing UFOs fly over the event. UFOs fly over the ocean. So, I find this stuff so fascinating. I'll give you a couple books that I own that work out really nice. New England Legends and Folklore, the Algonquin Legends of New England, and the Treasury of New England Folklore. I also have New England Folklore by Samuel Drake Adams. That's books out of print, actually. But those are some of the historical books if you wanted to look them up and get more familiar with them. I would definitely do that because they're so interesting. What is floating around out there? And you never know what else is going to be floating out there because New England is just huge. When it comes, you can look up, So here's some more folklore we can actually talk about, and some are very interesting. My favorite, the Pudgewuckies. They're all over New England. They're not just in the Bridgewater Triangle. They're not just in the Ossipee Triangle. They're not just in Freetown State Forest. They're up at the National Park up in Maine. Where Cadillac Mountain comes into play. They've been seen all over the place. They lure people. They look like they're friendly, but they lure people into their death. So you never, ever know where those are going to come from. They appear, disappear, shape shift. Most common form of this creature looks like a porcupine. From the back, half troll, half human, and the front walks upright to lure people to their deaths. They use magic to launch poison arrows and to create fire. So these creatures are real interesting. So if you ever get a chance to see a Pudgewuckie, I'd definitely take that opportunity. I'd be real careful. There have been Pudgewuckies seen even in Amesbury, Haverhill. So they're around. They're known to try to kidnap people, push them off of cliffs, and see how people would just go bye-bye. The Dover Demon. So that was a small hairless humanoid with large watermelon shape. Also cited the Pudgewuckies, the Dover Demon, have all been cited in the Bridgewater Triangle. It's a small hairless humanoid with large watermelon-shaped head and glowing orange eyes, cited in April of '77. Cited a few years back, too, in November. I believe it was 2025, or the top of my head serves me right. We did the Gloucester. Okay. Then we come to an area where, things get a little more hairy in New England folklore. It's a 200 square mile area. We've talked about this place in depth, so I'm just going to go over it quickly. In southeastern Massachusetts, renowned hotspots for paranormal activity, including cryptids and creatures such as Pudgewuckie, Bigfoot, giant snakes, and thunderbird. So as I already said, Pudgewuckies are 2 to 3 feet tall, very dangerous tricksters. But let's talk about some of the other ones. Bigfoot, another New England folklore. They have been cited from the Bridgewater Triangle to the Ossipee Triangle to the Bennington Triangle to New York to Colorado. They have different names. They've been cited in Russia, Mexico, Florida with the skunk apes. So wherever you go, you will see these illustrious, numerous reports of 7 to 10 foot creatures, ape-like creatures, sometimes reported glowing red eyes, particularly near the Hockomock Swamp. Sometimes, like down in Florida, they'll stink like the skunk apes do. There's also been, this is what's really fascinating, thunderbirds, giant prehistoric-looking birds with widespread reported 8 to 12 feet, often described as Peter Lock-like. What are thunderbirds? We really don't know. They could be a very extinct animal that has come back. We really don't know, but these thunderbird drawings go all over New England, and you can see them in old Native American rock drawings and outcroppings all over New England, just like you see UFOs flying in and out. Giant snakes, reports of abnormally large snakes, sometimes described 8 to 12 feet long, have been cited in the swamp. So a lot of problem with that one particular giant snake theory is there's a lot of illegal snakes in Massachusetts. People buy these cute boas and they go, oh, this is so cute. And it grows, it becomes more menacing, needs more food, bigger food, keeps growing, and then people go, well, winter's coming, we can't afford Harry anymore, so we're going to throw Harry outside. And then Harry ends up with no natural predators, and these snakes take over the swamps and the surrounding waters like they have in Florida. Phantom creatures, others reported anomalies including black panthers, giant turtles, hellhounds, or spectral black dogs, mysteriously glowing orbs. So, again, that's around the Hockomock Swamp, but they've also been seeing these things all over the place. it is quite interesting to know what is really out there. And here's one I never knew. The Quabbin Reservoir, I've been out there. Reports exist of a small gray bipedal creature near the Quabbin Reservoir. Those reports have been coming in for years. And I went out there, never saw anything. But then again, I mean, can the Quabbin ever? Yes, it can. The Quabbin Reservoir itself used to be a town. And then when Boston needed more water, they went, oh, let's sink this town and build a big area to store water in. So the Quabbin Reservoirs near Western Massachusetts, in the area of Western Massachusetts, with various cryptid reports, more notably the sightings of a mountain lion-like creature, often described as a large cat lurking in the watershed. The vast, secluded, and man-made nature of this 120,000-acre watershed also fuels the legend of underwater ghost towns such as Dana, Enfield, Greenwich, and Prescott, generally mysterious, unaccounted for, the beast of the surrounding wilderness. So other things on Quabbin Lake, reports of a mountain lion or similarly large, mysterious feline roaming the density forest without surrounds. Submerged specters, because 4 towns have initially been flooded. Supposedly all the graveyards were taken out, but there was rumored there's some graves still left behind. The important, general cryptid hotspot, the immense size of this restricted access of reservoir land makes rumored home for Bigfoot and other unknown large creatures. The Quabbin is often considered the northernmost isolated counterpoint, or better known, intense paranormal activity of the Bridgewater Triangle. So there's something of quite interest, if you want my honest opinion. It just fascinates me what is out there, what's left to discover. All right. Here's one I find interesting. Glaucussus. Glaucussus is a 1939 Connecticut cryptid. Fearsome critic described as a horned bear, panther-lion hybrid, and terrorized Glastonbury by killing livestock, likely misidentified fisher cat or large rogue feline. The name was coined by Hartford Courant editor to describe the mysterious beast-like causing wacky panic throughout that area of Glastonbury, Connecticut. A northern devil cat. They brought in all these people and they still could never find him. Right. So that I found that interesting. I'm always looking for oddities when you do these things. Can't be this one, that one. Let's do the melon heads. I thought Melon would be very proud of this one. Melon heads are creatures from the American urban folklore described as small humanoids with bulbous, oversized heads and feral behavior. Primary rumored to inhabit heavy wooded areas of Michigan, Ohio, and Connecticut. Legend typically involves them originating from orphans or parents subject to the cruel expectations of themselves. Experiments by this doctor. So the key aspects are linked to a sadistic doctor, Dr. Crow, who performed experiments on orphans causing their heads to swell in a hydrocelious fashion. The children allegedly killed and burned the institution and then fled the walls. So it's a Connecticut legend that claims that descendants of mental ill patients disseminated in 1919 and the silent fire and the families exiled by witchcraft in colonial times. They're described as a small, bold, and often savage, hiding in the woods and attacking passerbyers and eating small amounts of food, which is interesting. So that's something to look into. Because you never know what you're going to find, to be honest with you. So, if that's another thing, we can't go, gotta go to Maine and check out the spectral moose that roams Maine. First seen in 1891 by a hunting guide near Lobster Lake in Maine. Ooh, that must have been nice. Get some moose and lobster at the same time. I don't even know where Lobster Lake is. The spectre moose was also sighted twice again, the second time in which the spectre moose had been shot by another hunter who fired slugs right through him. The slugs reportedly had no effect on and bounced off of him. The moose charged at him the next year. New York sportsman named Howard Van Ness was hunting in that, and he shot a moose who was described as weighing a ton, but being all as camel with magnificent antlers. The moose did not be affected again and came at Van Ness. The moose was not seen again until 1985 when a taxidermist spotted the moose. The moose had yelled. So again, that one hadn't been seen since 1985. I find this stuff fascinating. I mean, how far it goes back and then it stops. So let's see what else we have here for folklore creatures. Whew. There are phantom ships seen all over the coast of Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. These vessels of historical, such as Mary Celeste, found empty in 1872, or the legacy of legendary spectral evidence such as the Flying Dutchman. So these ships are still being seen today after 1872. So it's actually amazing. I mean, it fascinates me to see all this stuff. When what's going on really just in our own backyard. I mean, to sit here and go, wow, look at all this stuff, and not go look at it or research it is beyond me. Here's one here's one of interest, the Don Man. Now all these have come, from more wealthier people, and it helped everybody like Whittier, and all these other poets. But I think what's interesting is the Don Man, or Don, is a legendary lonely spirit walking through New England. So she located, everything's been located, everything's moving good, and it's going to be interesting to see how all these creatures line up that go bump into the night. So if you have any other key themes you want to talk about, creatures you want to talk about, I'll be more than happy to keep discussing these creatures on different shows. Maybe do a show on each one differently, because they're so different. So, and by the way, if you live in Connecticut, watch out for melonheads. Small humanoid beings, unnaturally large heads, said to live in the woods around Fairfield and Shelton. We've gotten UFO reports of looking creatures like that through the years, Bob and I, so we find this stuff real interesting. All right. So between melon heads and anything goes bump into the night, if you see something like this in your backyard, if you have a paranormal problem, if you have a UFO problem, you can reach out to the Paranormal Zone, or you can reach out to me directly at 978-376-2807. We've already got cases being booked as we speak on most of our subjects that we cover. So we'll keep bringing cases in, keep bringing other people in, and we want to see you more. Let us know. Drop us a like when you see this video. Let us know what you think of the audio on this one. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is Tom Spitalere, and I'm heading back to my crypt. Good night, everybody.